My friends, tonight I want to speak to you about the most powerful yet most overlooked force in your life, your thoughts. You see, what you think in the privacy of your own mind is not private at all. It is a living current that flows into the unseen fabric of reality. Each thought is a seed dropped into the fertile soil of consciousness, and consciousness never fails to bring forth what is planted within it. What you dwell upon, imagine, and emotionally accept in your inner world becomes the outer world you walk through tomorrow. Every outer condition, your joys, your sorrows, your triumphs, and your struggles, is nothing more than the shadow cast by your inner activity. You may believe your thoughts are fleeting, invisible, and harmless, but nothing could be further from the truth. Every quiet assumption you make about yourself, every belief you nurture about others, and every vision you hold in your heart is setting in motion a chain of events. Whether in blessing or in limitation, the world you see is your mind made visible, painted by the steady brush of imagination. The great mistake man makes is believing that thinking is harmless, that what he allows to dwell in his mind has no real consequence in the outer world. Yet I tell you, the outer world is but a mirror reflecting back the inner state of consciousness. You cannot think one way and live another. You cannot dwell in thoughts of fear, lack, or resentment and expect peace, prosperity, and harmony. Your outer life will always express your inner vibration, for law cannot be mocked. Thought is cause and circumstance is effect. Though the harvest may take time to appear, it is always faithful to the seed sown. As a man thinketh in his heart, not as he pretends to think, not as he wishes he could think, but as he truly and habitually feels himself to be, so is he. The heart, in the language of Scripture, means the subconscious feeling, that deep awareness of I am. And so, whatever you accept in feeling becomes the life you must live. There is no escaping your own assumption, for imagination never sleeps. When I first discovered this principle, it startled me beyond measure. I had spent years searching for causes outside myself, blaming fate, chance, upbringing, and society for the conditions of my life. But the moment I realized that I was both the cause and the cure, the creator and the experiencer of my reality, everything changed. I could no longer hold others responsible for my disappointments, nor could I lean on excuses. The entire responsibility rested within me. It was both humbling and liberating, for to be the cause is also to possess the power to transform. Once I understood that every condition I disliked had its origin in an inner assumption I had accepted as true, I began to experiment. I changed my inner dialogue, revised my memories, and assumed new states of being. And to my astonishment, the outer world rearranged itself to reflect those inner changes. The law proved itself faithful. I was no longer a leaf blown by the wind of circumstance. I had become the wind itself, directing my life through the silent authority of thought. You see, thought is not mere mental chatter or idle daydreaming. Thought is creative energy in motion. Every idea that you allow to linger in consciousness, every image you emotionally invest in, every assumption you hold as true, these are living energies. They go forth into the unseen world and begin to clothe themselves in form, circumstance, and experience. Your imagination is the womb of creation, and your emotions are the life-giving waters that cause conception to take place. When you imagine with feeling, you are not simply fantasizing. You are giving life to realities that must one day appear. Everything in your tomorrow is born in your mental pictures today. You may not yet see it, but the unseen always precedes the seen. So the question is not, will it manifest, but what am I imagining right now? The imagination is not something to be dismissed or underestimated. It is the workshop of God within man. where the invisible becomes visible and the intangible takes form as the tangible world around you. Most people live as though their imagination were a toy, a place for idle fantasies or fearful rehearsals. They do not realize that imagination is a power, the creative power of God operating through them. And so they permit negative pictures to run wild in their minds, never understanding that these images are planting seeds in the soil of time. They dwell upon lack, and lack multiplies. They rehearse betrayal, and betrayal appears. They imagine illness, and their bodies obey. They call it bad luck, karma, or destiny, but it is none of these. It is simply the law of belief made visible. You are always imagining something, and you are always believing something. Whether you realize it or not, faith is constantly at work within you. Faith is not reserved for religion. It is the creative substance of the universe. Whatever you believe with feeling, whether it is for good or for harm, must come to pass. So be not careless with your imagination, for it is the engine of your destiny, the unseen hand shaping your visible world. I often say to my students, to be careful with your thoughts is to be careful with your future. For every thought repeated in the quiet chambers of your mind is a decree issued to life itself. Your inner conversations, those silent monologues where you speak to yourself about your fears, your hopes, your frustrations, these are not harmless musings. They are the scripts from which your life is performed. The mind never stops creating. It is ceaseless in its operation. Even your idle daydreams are seeds falling upon fertile soil. The soil does not discriminate. It will grow weeds just as eagerly as it grows wheat. Therefore, you must choose your thoughts with care. You are both the sower and the reaper, and the field you tend is your own consciousness. The question is not whether you are creating, but what you are creating. When you fill your inner speech with gratitude, love, and expectancy of good, life will echo those same tones in every circumstance. Guard your words, both spoken and unspoken, for they are spells shaping your tomorrows. Therefore, discipline your imagination as you would train a beloved but unruly horse. Do not let it run wild into the fields of fear, jealousy, or doubt. Teach it to dwell upon noble, uplifting, and loving ideas. When you catch yourself imagining the worst, failure, rejection, disaster, stop immediately and revise the scene in your mind. Create a new picture, one that implies your desire has already been fulfilled. See it clearly. Hear the sounds that would accompany it, and most of all, feel the reality of it until it becomes natural. That feeling is the secret signal to the subconscious that creation has begun. The outer world will respond, for it is compelled to reflect the inner conviction. You must not imagine as though you are begging for something to happen. Rather, imagine from the awareness that it already has happened. The discipline of imagination is not repression. It is creation in its purest form. It is the art of consciously shaping the unseen substance of life into the image of your chosen ideal. Some people say to me, I can't help what I think. Thoughts just come, and I cannot stop them. But my dear friends, that is only half true. You may not control the first thought that drifts across your mind, but you are the master of whether it stays or goes. You are not a slave to your imagination. You are its keeper, its guardian, its governor. Every thought that knocks upon the door of your mind seeks permission to enter and dwell there. It is you who decides whether to entertain it, feed it, and give it life. If a thought brings anxiety, despair, or limitation, send it away. Do not serve it tea. Replace it with a vision that uplifts, strengthens, and expands you. The moment you begin to see yourself as the gatekeeper of your mental garden, you awaken to your true power You cannot always prevent a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest in your hair. Likewise, do not let harmful thoughts build homes in your mind. Be deliberate, for the mind is sacred territory, and what dwells there becomes your world. I want you to understand deeply that thinking is not simply a mechanical process of words or logic. True thought is infused with emotion. It is feeling that gives thought its creative potency. The thoughts that manifest in your life are not the ones that pass lightly through your mind, but the ones that sink into your being and are felt as real. Feeling is the secret, the bridge between imagination and manifestation. A thought without feeling is like a seed without water. It remains dormant. But when you unite thought and feeling, creation begins instantly. If you imagine lack and feel fear, you call forth scarcity. If you imagine abundance and feel gratitude, you call forth prosperity. The universe does not judge what you feel. It merely reflects it. It does not ask whether your belief is pleasant or unpleasant. It simply reproduces the vibration you sustain. Therefore, discipline not only your thinking, but your emotional tone. Learn to feel from the end, to feel that it is done, and to carry that feeling into your daily walk. The universe always echoes your inner vibration with mathematical precision. Your imagination, dear friends, is not some fanciful indulgence of the mind. It is God Himself in action, the same creative force that brought forth the stars, the seas, and beating of your heart, is operating within you as imagination. It does not require a theologian to see this truth. It requires inner awareness. The divine I am in you, that sense of being aware, alive and present, is the eternal God expressing Himself through you. When you say, I am, you are invoking the name of the Creator, and whatever follows those sacred words becomes your decree to the universe. So when you say, I am poor, I am lonely, or I am weak, you are calling upon divine power to make those conditions real. But if you dare to affirm, I am blessed, I am strong, I am loved, the same divine force moves heaven and earth to manifest that truth in your experience. Be very careful then what follows your I am, for it is no idle statement. It is a spiritual command. You are writing scripture in the language of your own life. Let us suppose you desire to change a condition in your life, perhaps in health, finances, or relationships. The instinct of most people is to fight against what they do not want, to resist the old condition, or to curse the darkness. But resistance only feeds what you oppose. You cannot overcome a shadow by struggling with it. You must turn toward the light. And in the realm of consciousness, that light is your imagination. Instead of fighting the unwanted, imagine the wanted. Picture yourself already in possession of your desire. What would you see, hear, and feel if your wish were fulfilled? Imagine those scenes vividly, as if they were happening right now. Enter that mental state and dwell there, not as an observer wishing for it, but as the one already living it. Persist in that inner reality regardless of outer appearances. The world will yield, it must, for the outer is but a reflection of the inner conviction. This is not make-believe, it is divine law. The moment you feel yourself in the state desired, you set in motion unseen forces that cannot fail to materialize your vision. You may say, but my circumstances are so difficult. Surely they are beyond my control. And I tell you gently, they are only the shadows of your past thinking. You need not wrestle with the shadow. It is powerless without the light that casts it. The outer world is merely the echo of inner assumptions long sustained. You have been thinking and feeling yourself into every corner of your life, whether consciously or unconsciously. If you wish to change the echo, you must first change the song. Stop cursing conditions and start transforming consciousness. Do not waste energy condemning what appears outside. Instead, go within and assume a new state of being. Begin to think and feel as the person you wish to be. The world, though it may resist for a moment, must eventually conform. It is a law as sure as gravity. Every belief you hold eventually hardens into fact. When you change the belief, the facts rearrange themselves in time. You are never fighting the world, you are only revising your assumptions. The cause is within, always within. The greatest error man commits is waiting for circumstances to improve before changing his inner attitude. He says, when I have more money, I'll feel abundant. When I am loved, I will feel worthy. But the law works in reverse. You must first feel abundant to receive abundance. First feel worthy to be loved. First feel healed to see healing. Feeling precedes form, never follows it. Life mirrors consciousness, not the other way around. If you dwell in the old state, in worry, resentment, or self-doubt, the world must continue to reflect it, for the mirror cannot change before the face does. So I tell you, assume the state desired now. Feel it as though it were already true. Walk, talk, think, and act from that state inwardly. Do not wait for outer proof. Let your inner conviction be the proof. The world will catch up in divine time. As long as you hold the inner vision, reality is already shifting, though unseen to the eye. Remember, faith is not hoping it will happen. Faith is knowing it has already happened in consciousness. When I speak of being careful with your thoughts, I do not mean to live in fear of every stray idea or to become anxious about mental mistakes. Rather, I mean to live in awareness, to recognize that your mind is a workshop of creation, a sacred temple where invisible substance takes form. Every moment you are molding the raw energy of life into the shape of your convictions. So think beautifully, deliberately, and lovingly. Choose your inner images with care, for they are your prayers. Every thought, no matter how small, is a seed of reality. When you think with love, you are praying a loving prayer. When you think with fear, you are praying a fearful one. The universe listens not to your words, but to your vibration, the feeling beneath them. So, fill your mind with noble visions. Think from the highest version of yourself, not the lowest. You are the sculptor of your destiny, chiseling eternity with your imagination. The law does not punish, it only reflects. And when you think with awareness, you discover that heaven is not distant, but already within. Do you see now, my friends, why resentment, gossip, and envy are so destructive? They poison the very soil of your mind in which every seed of good must grow. You cannot plant thorns and expect roses to appear. The mind that indulges in bitterness becomes a garden of weeds, choking out the delicate flowers of peace, joy, and prosperity. When you imagine ill of another, you are not cursing them, you are cursing yourself. For imagination knows no separation. The law is unity. Whatever you do in imagination to another, you do unto your own soul. For there is only one mind expressing itself through many forms. To think well of others is to water your own blessings. To forgive is to free your own heart. And to love, even those who seem unworthy, is to align yourself with the divine vibration of creation. Hatred and jealousy are not external sins. They are self-inflicted wounds upon consciousness. Choose instead to see others through the eyes of love. For when you uplift your thoughts about others, the universe uplifts you in return. The good you send forth circles back multiplied, as surely as a wave returns to the shore. I often tell my students, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This, though simple in instruction, is the most profound and creative act you can perform. To assume the feeling is to embody the state of consciousness in which your desire is already real. It may appear false to the senses at first, for the outer world still reflects the past, but persist, for imagination always precedes reality. The assumption, though invisible, is a seed planted in the fertile soil of the subconscious. If you nourish it with faith and feeling, it must bloom. The outer world is compelled to rearrange itself to match the vibration of your inner conviction. You do not need to know how it will happen. Leave the how to the unseen intelligence that governs all creation. Simply live from the end, not toward it. Feel what it would be like if it were already done, and dwell there in consciousness. People will move, circumstances will shift, and coincidences will unfold in ways that seem miraculous. But they are not miracles. They are law in motion, the inevitable outpicturing of your sustained assumption. But understand this, faith is not blind hope, nor wishful thinking. Faith is awareness of the law, the unwavering knowing that imagination, once accepted in feeling, must externalize itself in form. It is confidence born of understanding. When fear or doubt tries to creep into your mind, remind yourself this too is only a shadow of my thinking. I have the power to revise it. You are never a victim of circumstance. You are always the creator of it. The outer world is but your reflection in the mirror of life. If you dislike what you see, do not strike the mirror. Change your expression. Revision is the secret weapon of the awakened soul. You can go back in imagination and alter any event by feeling it differently, and the new state will overwrite the old in consciousness. The past, as you know it, is not fixed. It is fluid, for all states exist now. Faith is the ability to live from the unseen with as much certainty as if it were seen. The faithful man does not react to appearances. He creates new ones. When you truly grasp this principle, your entire relationship with life transforms. You stop begging for miracles and start performing them. You cease pleading with an external God to change things, and you awaken to the truth that God acts only through your own imagination. You begin to realize you are not separate from the source, but a living expression of it. Therefore, to imagine lovingly, wisely, and deliberately is to act in harmony with the divine itself. You discover that prayer is not supplication, but assumption, the acceptance of a state as already real. You stop waiting for signs and start creating them through feeling. You cease blaming the world and begin to see it as a mirror of your inner conversations. Life becomes a spiritual experiment where every thought is a brushstroke on the canvas of reality. You no longer fear delay, for you understand timing is simply the rhythm of your own belief unfolding. The man who knows this walks in quiet confidence. He does not compete or strive, he simply imagines and rests, knowing that imagination fulfilled is destiny revealed. Be gentle with yourself as you practice this art, for your mind has been undisciplined for many years. It will wander back into the familiar territories of worry, doubt, and fear. But each time you bring it home to faith, to gratitude, to vision, you are planting new seeds in the soil of your soul. Do not condemn yourself when you fall back into old patterns. Simply revise them and begin again. The gardener does not curse the soil when weeds appear. He tends to it patiently. So must you. Every act of conscious redirection strengthens your creative muscle. Soon the old harvest, the effects of your former thinking, will fade away and new growth will emerge. Your world will slowly but surely mirror the beauty of your inner transformation. And when it does, do not boast, but give thanks. For gratitude is the fertilizer of creation. The more you appreciate your manifestations, the more abundance flows to you. Persistence, patience, and praise. These are the sacred tools of the master thinker. Use them daily and watch your life unfold in grace. There is no power outside of you that determines your fate. This truth may startle you, but it is the essence of freedom. The kingdom of heaven is not a faraway realm beyond the clouds. It is a state of consciousness available here and now. Each time you think nobly, love deeply, and imagine beautifully, you open the gates of that kingdom within. Heaven is not a location. It is awareness of divine harmony. And hell is nothing more than ignorance of that harmony. The power that creates galaxies and governs the stars is not distant. It beats within your own heart as imagination and feeling. Every time you affirm the good, bless others, and see yourself as divine, you awaken more fully to this truth. You are not striving to reach heaven. You are remembering it. When you rise in consciousness, the outer world naturally aligns with your inner elevation. The secret has always been simple. Change your awareness, and you change your world. For heaven and earth are but two sides of the same imagination. One within, one without. So tonight, I invite you to become aware, deeply aware of what you think. Watch your inner conversations with the same care a gardener gives his most precious plants. Do not let weeds of doubt, complaint, or fear take root in the soil of your consciousness. Instead, plant seeds of joy, faith, gratitude, and love. Speak inwardly as though you were already living your greatest vision. Let your imagination become a place of worship where every thought is a hymn to the good, the true, and the beautiful. For the law is exact. Whatever you sow, you shall reap. If you sow resentment, you reap turmoil. If you sow love, you reap peace. Begin now to revise your thoughts, and the harvest will follow. Do not ask when. Ask only, what am I planting right now? Life is the garden of your imagination. Every emotion is rain. Every belief a ray of sunlight. Nurture your vision. Protect it from the weeds of negativity. And soon your world will bloom with abundance beyond measure. And so, my beloved friends, let us go forth knowing this simple yet eternal truth. Your world is your mirror, your thoughts are the brush, and your imagination is the canvas. Paint wisely, for you are painting eternity. Think lovingly, for every thought becomes a creation that will one day stand before you and call you its maker. Be careful with your thoughts, for they are not idle things. They are divine commands whispered into the ear of infinity. You are the artist of your destiny, the author of your experience, the dreamer dreaming reality into being. When you understand this, life ceases to be a struggle and becomes a sacred partnership with the divine. You no longer wait for miracles. You become their source. Each thought, each feeling, each vision is a brushstroke shaping the masterpiece of your existence. So think beautifully, my friends. Feel richly. Live consciously. For what you think in your head manifests in your world. And remember always, the universe is listening to your imagination, shaping tomorrow from the whispers of your thoughts today.